Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going on a deep dive into the life of Justine Musk.
Elon Musk's first wife.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might know her as an author,
Right.
or maybe you just know her from the headlines surrounding her very public divorce.
Yeah, that was a big one.
It was a big one.
Definitely.
But we're going deeper than that today.
We are.
We've got articles, biographies, even a personal essay that Justine wrote herself.
Oh, wow.
We're going to try to figure out, is she a gifted individual who carved her own path? Or did she skillfully leverage her connection to one of the world's most polarizing figures? That's Elon, of course.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what's really interesting to me is that Justine's story, it's not just about her,
Yeah.
It kind of gives us like a unique window into Elon Musk himself.
Right.
By exploring her experiences, we can sort of get a glimpse into like his character and his ambition, maybe even the forces that are driving his successes and controversies.
I like that. You're right. It's like a behind-the-scenes look at the early days of Silicon Valley.
Totally.
We're seeing these two ambitious people navigating love, loss, and that relentless chase for success.
Silicon Valley is crazy.
It is.
Yeah?
So to get us started, let's rewind all the way back to Justine's early life.
Okay.
She was born in 1972 in Peterborough, Ontario,
Wow.
Canada.
Okay.
And she's described her childhood as lonely, almost like being an only child.
Interesting. That's an important detail, I think.
Why?
Well, because, loneliness can have a really profound impact on somebody's personal development.
Right.
Yeah, and it often shapes our desires for connection and belonging later in life. And I think that's something important to keep in mind as we unpack her relationship with Elon.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And even with that loneliness, she had this vision for herself.
Uh-huh.
Justine always wanted to be a novelist.
Wow.
She even started drafting her first book, BloodAngel, while studying English literature at Queen's University.
No kidding.
Yeah, not your typical college pastime.
Not at all. This really highlights her drive. She was already so focused on her goals long before Elon even came into the picture.
Right.
And it really challenges like the easy narrative that she was just riding his coattails.
I agree. And after graduating, she took a pretty unusual path.
Oh.
She moved to Japan to teach English as a second language.
Wow, bold move.
Pretty bold, right?
There.
You don't just pack up and move across the world without a certain sense of adventure and a desire for independence.
Yeah, no kidding. It suggests like a real willingness to push boundaries.
Yeah.
And that characteristic that might have prepared her for the whirlwind life she was about to step into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's fast forward to their time at Queen's University, where Justine and Elon's paths first crossed.
Okay.
It sounds like a movie. Elon was instantly smitten with her.
Really?
He was sending her flowers even after she moved to Japan.
Wow, talk about persistence.
I know.
Yeah, and that persistence, I think that's really key to understanding Elon.
Okay.
He sets these incredibly ambitious goals and then he pursues them relentlessly. It seems to apply to both his personal and professional life.
Yeah. And when Justine returned to Canada, their connection kind of reignited. They ended up in Silicon Valley together.
Okay.
And just a few months later, they were married.
Wow, that was quick.
I know. And there's this story about Elon handing Justine his credit card during a date
Okay.
and telling her to buy as many books as she wanted.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, on the surface, it sounds romantic, but
Yeah.
is there more to that gesture? I don't know.
What do you think?
Well, it is a grand gesture for sure,
Yeah.
but it also kind of hints at a potential power imbalance from the very beginning.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, imagine like being handed your future husband's credit card and being told to buy as many books as you want.
Right.
Does it feel empowering? Or does it feel like a subtle display of his financial dominance?
Yeah.
It's something to think about as we go forward with this.
I like that perspective. It's
Yeah.
really insightful.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get swept up in the romanticism. But those underlying dynamics are really important to acknowledge. So their early married life seemed like a dream. Lavish events, multi-million-dollar homes.
The whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, they faced a heartbreaking tragedy.
Oh, no.
Their first child, Nevada, died from SIDS at just 10 weeks old.
Oh, gosh. The loss of a child is just an unimaginable tragedy.
I know.
And, we don't have like intimate details about their grieving process, but it's clear that this loss really profoundly impacted their relationship.
Right.
Grief can either strengthen a bond or it can expose existing cracks.
It's true. To cope with their grief, they turned to in vitro fertilization.
Okay.
They had twins, followed by triplets.
Wow.
5 kids in total.
That's a lot.
It's a lot for any couple,
Mm.
especially under the intense public eye they were living under.
Absolutely. And as we'll see, the pressures of family life combined with Elon's escalating ambition probably just added to the tension that was already kind of brewing in their marriage.
Right, and things weren't always picture perfect.
Oh.
Justine later described like a growing emotional distance,
Mm.
feeling like a trophy wife,
Okay.
and really wanting a more equal partnership.
I see. That feeling of being sidelined is a common thread, I think, in Justine's story.
Yeah.
As Elon's success and wealth skyrocketed, she started feeling more and more marginalized, like her own wants and her own needs were being overshadowed by his demanding personality.
And that feeling of being pushed aside is so evident in a revealing essay she wrote for Marie Claire back in 2010.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She had to talk about constantly being judged and critiqued by Elon, even in their personal lives.
Wow.
There's one line that really stuck with me. If you were my employee, he often said, I would fire you.
Gosh, that's chilling.
I know.
Yeah, that quote is just incredibly powerful.
It is.
It really gives us a glimpse into how Elon viewed their relationship, you know?
Right.
It wasn't a partnership of equals. It was more like a structure where he was in charge.
Right.
And that dynamic likely influenced many of their interactions.
It's such a stark contrast to the image of the, doting husband sending flowers across the world.
Right.
And it gets even more complex when you consider that just 3 months after their wedding, Elon reportedly had Justine sign a postnuptial agreement.
No way.
Yeah. Imagine during their first dance as husband and wife.
Oh my God.
He's reminding her of his control over their financial future.
That's intense. I mean, some might interpret it as like shrewd business practice.
Right.
A way to protect his assets.
Yeah.
Others might see it as a red flag, you know?
For sure.
A sign of mistrust or an attempt to exert control in a romantic relationship.
What do you think?
I don't know. It's tough.
Honestly, it makes me wonder if those controlling tendencies that Justine described were always there,
Right.
lurking beneath the surface. Or did they emerge as his wealth and power grew?
Right. It's a bit of a chicken or the egg scenario.
It is. Their marriage officially ended in 2008.
Okay.
The settlement included $2 million in cash, $80,000 a month in alimony,
Wow.
a Tesla Roadster, and 10% of Elon's SpaceX stock.
While those numbers sound substantial,
They do.
they represent a tiny fraction of Elon's overall wealth,
Right.
which has grown exponentially since their divorce.
Of course.
And it really highlights like the vast financial gap that often exists between high-profile couples,
Yeah,
especially when one partner's success just totally eclipses the others.
totally. And while Justine received a significant financial settlement, the emotional cost of the divorce was clearly significant.
Yeah.
She has openly admitted to feeling anger towards Elon for the way their relationship ended.
Yeah, that anger is completely understandable.
Right.
You know, it speaks to the pain and resentment that can linger even when a relationship offers financial security.
Right.
It's a reminder that money can't always heal emotional wounds.
But even with that anger, Justine also acknowledges Elon's brilliance and his visionary qualities. She seems to recognize the complexity of his character, the good and the bad.
Yeah, it's a nuanced perspective and one that I think many people struggle with when it comes to Elon Musk. Can we separate the personal from the professional? Can we admire his achievements while also acknowledging his problematic behaviors?
Right.
It's a question that will continue to be debated.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting how Justine can hold both of those feelings towards Elon,
Yeah.
anger and admiration at the same time.
Right.
It kind of speaks to the complexity of their relationship and Elon's personality.
It does. It's a dynamic we see a lot, actually, especially with people who achieve this extraordinary success.
Right.
The same drive and ambition that fuel their accomplishments can also create this turmoil in their personal lives.
Yeah.
It's like a double-edged sword.
And you can't deny that Elon has become increasingly controversial in recent years.
True.
Those provocative tweets, his comments about transgender people, his business decisions.
Yeah.
It's a far cry from the shy, bookish guy that Justine met back at Queens.
Right. It makes you wonder if his immense wealth and influence have amplified certain aspects of his personality, both positive and negative.
Yeah.
He's reached a level where he's accountable to very few people.
Right.
And that can be a slippery slope for anyone, regardless of their initial intentions.
Definitely raises questions about the impact of power on an individual's behavior.
Yeah.
And let's be real, his actions have real-world consequences.
Oh, wow.
When someone with his platform spreads misinformation or makes inflammatory statements,
Right.
it can ripple throughout society,
Yeah.
normalizing harmful behaviors, eroding trust.
We're living in a time where we're reevaluating how we view power and influence.
Right.
In the past, we might have overlooked certain personal flaws if someone was bringing innovation or financial success to the table.
Right.
But today, there's a growing demand for accountability.
Uh-huh.
People want leaders who demonstrate not just competence, but also empathy and integrity.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
And as Elon's public image becomes more and more tarnished, it's kind of fascinating to see how Justine has navigated her own life after their divorce.
Right.
She seems to have found this balance between acknowledging his achievements
Yeah.
while distancing herself from his more controversial actions.
Her approach speaks volumes about her resilience and her commitment to her own values.
Yeah.
She could have easily just retreated from the spotlight after such a public divorce, but she chose to focus on her passions and build a career independent of her ex-husband.
Let's talk about that career.
Okay.
After her divorce, Justine really doubled down on her writing.
Uh-huh.
She published several more books and even became a speaker at TED Talk events.
Wow, that's amazing. Her resilience is really inspiring.
It is.
She didn't let the shadow of her past define her future.
Right.
She carved out her own path, one that's authentic to her own ambitions and talents.
And it seems to be paying off.
Yeah.
While her exact net worth is unclear, estimates place it somewhere between $1 million and $5 million.
Okay.
A considerable sum, for sure, but nowhere near Elon's massive fortune.
It's a good reminder that financial success can be measured in many ways.
It's true.
Justine might not have Elon's billions, but she's built a life on her own terms, pursuing a career she loves and sharing her experiences with the world, and I think that's a success story in itself.
As we've been unpacking Justine's life, I keep thinking back to her essay in Marie Claire.
Yeah.
She's incredibly honest about the pain and frustration she experienced during her marriage.
Right.
But she also doesn't shy away from acknowledging the positive aspects.
Her willingness to be candid, to show both the light and shadow, is
Yeah.
what makes her story so compelling.
It's true.
She's not trying to, demonize Elon or portray herself as a victim.
Right.
She's simply offering a nuanced perspective on a very complex relationship.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It's not just about gossip or scandal.
Right.
It's about exploring human nature,
Uh-huh.
the complexities of ambition, power, love, and how those forces interact and collide.
Exactly. It makes you think about your own life, your own choices.
Right.
How much do our early experiences shape who we become and the paths we choose?
That's so true.
Think back to what we discussed about Justine's childhood.
Okay.
Do you think that early experience of loneliness influenced her relationship with Elon?
It's possible.
Maybe subconsciously, she was drawn to his intensity, his grand vision for the future.
Right.
It might have felt like an escape from that feeling of isolation.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
I've always believed our past experiences, especially our childhoods, leave these fingerprints on our present.
I agree.
They shape our desires, our fears, the way we connect with others.
Totally.
And if Justine was yearning for connection and belonging, Elon's intense focus and ambition might have seemed incredibly appealing.
It highlights the importance of self-awareness in relationships.
Right.
Understanding our own needs and vulnerabilities can help us make healthier choices, break unhealthy patterns, and build relationships that are truly fulfilling.
So much of Justine and Elon's story revolves around this drive to push boundaries.
Yeah.
We see it in Elon's relentless pursuit of innovation and his sometimes reckless behavior.
Right.
But we also see it in Justine's determination to forge her own path, to reclaim her voice, and to achieve success on her own terms.
It's a powerful reminder that ambition can be both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
It can propel us to greatness, but also lead us down destructive paths.
Uh-huh.
The key is finding that balance.
Right.
Harnessing that drive in a way that serves our highest good and the good of those around us.
And that brings us back to the question we posed at the beginning of our deep dive.
Yeah.
Is Justine Musk a grifter or gifted?
What are your thoughts after exploring her story?
I don't know. It's a really tough question.
Is.
It's a question that's often asked about individuals who have achieved success while being connected to a controversial figure.
Right.
But there's rarely a simple answer.
No.
And in Justine's case, I think trying to label her with such a simplistic binary misses the point entirely.
I agree. Those labels, grifter and gifted, they're often loaded with judgment.
Right.
They're shortcuts we use to categorize people without fully understanding the complexities of their lives and choices.
And especially in Justine's case, those labels feel inadequate.
They do.
She's accomplished so much, both personally and professionally, that it's impossible to sum her up in a single word.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's a successful author, a thought-provoking speaker, and a mother who has navigated incredible challenges.
Right.
It's important to recognize her multifaceted nature and appreciate her journey without resorting to simplistic labels.
It feels like we've been circling around this question of grifter or gifted
Yeah.
throughout our deep dive.
Right.
But maybe that's not even the right question to be asking.
I agree. Those labels,
Right.
grifter and gifted,
But
they're
yeah.
so loaded with judgment.
They are.
They're like shortcuts we use to categorize people without fully understanding,
And
the
nuanced.
complexities of their lives and choices.
Yeah, especially in Justine's case, those labels just feel inadequate.
Yeah, they really do.
She's accomplished so much, both personally and professionally, that it's impossible to sum her up in a single word.
Exactly. She's a successful author, a thought-provoking speaker, and a mother who's navigated some incredible challenges.
Right.
It's important to recognize her multifaceted nature and appreciate her journey without resorting to these simplistic labels.
One thing that really struck me was her perspective on Elon.
Uh-huh.
Even though their relationship ended in a very public and messy way,
It did.
she's managed to maintain a sense of empathy towards him.
It's true.
She acknowledges his flaws, but she also recognizes his brilliance and the positive aspects of their time together.
That says a lot about her character.
Yeah.
And her ability to move forward without bitterness or resentment. She's
Right.
not dwelling on the negative. Instead, she's choosing to focus on her own growth and her own definition of success.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have the ability to choose how we respond to difficult experiences.
And we do.
We can let those experiences define us, or we can use them as opportunities for learning and growth.
For sure.
Justine chose the latter, and that's a message that resonates far beyond her own personal story.
Absolutely. Her story offers valuable insights, I think, for all of us, regardless of our relationship status or professional achievements.
Right.
It reminds us that we all have the power to shape our own narratives,
Right.
to redefine success on our own terms, and to pursue our passions with authenticity and resilience.
And as we wrap up this deep dive into the life of Justine Musk,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
Justine's story isn't just about her.
Right.
It's also a reflection of the larger societal forces that shape our perceptions of success and ambition,
Uh-huh.
and the roles of men and women in the 21st century.
It's a story about navigating power dynamics, challenging expectations, and finding your voice in a world that often tries to silence it.
It's a reminder that personal growth and societal progress are kind of intertwined,
Yeah,
and that we all have a role to play in creating a more equitable and just world.
that's a great point.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the life of Justine Musk. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking, and maybe even a little bit inspiring. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep searching for those stories that illuminate the complexities of the human experience.